The 1980s were called the Reagan years because he was president for 8 of them. The 80s brought change to American society and was also the new improved technology. Even in the light of all the good that brought hope to society, the 80s were not without devastation. For example, the Reagan attempted assassination on March 30th, 1981, and the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster on January 28, 1986. You will hear these two events discussed in my interview. What is your name?
My name's Joe Santos.
And your occupation?
I'm an account manager for a towing company.
And what year was it when you were 20?
I turned 20 in 1986.
And what was a major event or events that happened that you remember in this time period?
I remember around 1981 when Ronald Reagan was shot in an assassination attempt.
And where did you hear about this event?
I was actually still in high school in a biology class when the news was released.
And how did you feel about it?
It was very awkward because the whole class was silent. It was not something that was common at the time, and I remember the teacher in particular being very shaken up. So it was a very eerie feeling.
And is there anything that came out of this event?
I don't really know.
Like what happened to the guy?
The guy was convicted. They know exactly who was caught. Mm-hmm. I mean, who did the shooting. They took him down. FBI agents took him down. Reagan did live. He was hurt for a while. Just one of those radical guys that we really don't know why he shot him, but somehow he had it in his head. He wanted to try to kill the president.
Do you think, do you have any idea why he would try it, or?
Yeah, no, I sure don't. I was a little bit young. I was in my, like I say, high school, so I didn't understand all the political world. But at the time, I'm sure it was political.
And how do you think this event impacted the world at this time, or the United States?
Well, being the president of the United States, he's a world leader, and the whole world was kind of shaken because of anybody from that statue would be, when somebody tries to commit assassination, it's a big news. So the whole world was kind of shaken.
And how do you feel about that president? How did you feel about it?
He became one of the world more liked presidents. I think that he was an actor when he was younger, and the fact that he was an actor and he was kind of a people's president. I think today he was really well liked. At the time, there was some political unrest. There was some money was not easy to come by. So at the time he was not well liked, but today I think he's really well liked.
Thank you very much. What was another major event that happened in the 1980s?
One major event that happened was the Space Shuttle Challenger blowing up on their takeoff.
Can you explain, exactly what happened?
Well, I believe there were 7 passengers on it, and they were taken out from Cape Canaveral, and they had a malfunction of some O-rings, if I remember correctly. The engine blew up, basically everybody on board died.
And where were you when this happened?
I was working in a warehouse. I was still pretty young, working in a warehouse, and I remember it came up over the news, and my boss came out and kind of told everybody what had happened.
And how did you feel about this?
Again, it was kind of eerie because it was a national kind of catastrophe. And one of the people on board was a school teacher, and it was one of the first civilians in space, I believe. And obviously she perished with the rest of them. That was very significant to most of the country that a school teacher had kind of won this prize trip, and then, that happened to her.
Where did you hear about it?
I heard about it basically on the news. It was all over the news. Media wasn't like it is today, but I mean, the major channels are all on this reporting.
And did anything come out of it, like any safety measures or anything?
Yeah, I mean, the space shuttle program itself was delayed for many, many years until they figured out what happened. And I'm not sure if today civilians are allowed to go on it. That may be when things change because, like I said, it's civilian perish.
What other events happened in the 1980s that you can remember?
Some of the events that I remember in the 80s are like the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, Mount St. Helens eruption. Later 80s was the Berlin Wall came down and the oil Valdez oil spill. Those were pretty significant in themselves, each one.
What are some fun, interesting facts that happened in the 1980s?
Great question. Some interesting fun facts that happened in the 80s were MTV was launched for the very first time around 81, I believe. Michael Jackson's Thriller was a very popular video at the time. Popular movies were E.T. and Back to the Future. Some fun popular deals were Cabbage Patch Dolls. New Coke launched a New Coke, which was a failure. The first internet domain name was actually registered, and Halley's Comet was a big deal in the 80s. It came out to be a whole lot of money.
Thank you for taking the time to answer these questions and giving your feedback. Thank you.
Anytime.